Hey guys, what's up? Today we are going to do episode 8 of Barbecue with Birk. I'm going to teach you guys how to do something that might be a little daunting for most people, and that is the pork rib. So we're doing baby back ribs today. I'm going to show you how to prep them, how to clean them up, and then do them on the smoker. A lot of people, I feel like, don't do ribs because it feels like a daunting undertaking. They don't know how to do it. There's a couple of simple things that you can do that make your ribs taste better. And then I'm going to give you guys 2 marinades today. I'm going to do a bourbon cherry and I'm going to do an apple cider cinnamon. So I'll show you guys how to prep this, take off the membrane, clean it up. We're going to do our ribs as a 3-2-1 method. And what that means is you want 3 hours of a low and slow smoke, and then that way you're going to get a lot of smoke ring and flavor. And then 2 hours of cooking temperature while you're braising them in foil, and then 1 hour we're going to baste them with sauce the whole time. This is going to make your pork ribs come out super juicy and fall off the bone for you. All right, let's get right into this. Okay, so the first thing you want to start with is you want to look at the top side and make sure that any unsavory looking fats are going to be cut off. So this one's pretty trim, but you want to take a little bit of this off. Don't take too much fat off, otherwise your ribs will end up being dry. But I find if you see any gristle bits or bone bits, you want to take those out. Any knobbly fat pieces, take those out. Get rid of them. These guys are fairly good here. So then we flip them over to the bone up side. Now you want to take this little piece off here, this little flap. It's going to be chewy when you eat it. What this is actually part of the diaphragm. There's a big argument about whether you keep the membrane on or whether you take it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one off today and leave one on. Now if you have a meat hook, this is the best and easiest way to do it. You just take your meat hook in on the rib and it peels right up. Now if you don't have a meat hook, you can use your knife. So the argument behind whether you take the membrane off or whether you leave it on is based off of moisture and then texture during a chew. So if you leave the membrane on, it acts as a barrier and it keeps a lot of that moisture locked into the meat, keeping your ribs more moist so you don't get dry, sawdusty kind of ribs. Now if you take them off, as you eat the ribs later, you're not going to get that chewy membrane bit that you'll have to probably take off after you're finished cooking. So we're going to roll with this right now and we're going to give these guys a good season. These are all pretty cleaned up. They don't need to look super pretty, but as long as you don't have any bone bits or gristle or unsavory fat, they're good to go. All right, now here in New Brunswick, you have a couple of hidden treasures that the rest of the country doesn't have, but you can substitute with a lot of stuff. So one of the first things is this Scow apple cider. Now you can use any apple cider you want. This is all locally grown and harvested apples, and then the cider distillery is close by to where we live. So I'm going to try this guy out and use that. The other hidden gem is Jean-Pierre and his wife Rachel made us some homemade cherry jam from their yard. They are our neighbors right beside us. So I'm going to try that with the bourbon today and see a nice glaze on top. It is a fantabulous cherry jam. So if you want to use something else at home, like a cherry jam of your own or strawberry or whatever, a fruit jam goes really well with the bourbon, and it pairs well with pork. Pork takes on fruity flavors quite well, which is why I'm doing 2 different types of fruits here today. So we've already done up our spice mix. Some standard typical things that you would throw in as a base for your dry rub seasoning is going to be salt, pepper, paprika, a little cayenne, some mustard seed, 1/4 cup of brown sugar. You could throw in Montreal steak spice. You could throw a couple other things in there, whatever flavor you really want to pull out of it, but this is a good base. So what we're going to do is we're going to dry rub both sides of this pork. So here we go. Alright, so we want to flip these guys once they're rubbed. Now be prepared to make a mess. Ribs are always messy, eating and prepping. So usually you can put down some tin foil, get the vacuum ready, get dressed in your best shirts. Okay, now that we got these ribs all rubbed down, what we're going to do is we're going to start making our sauce, and then we're going to get these ribs on the charcoal grill. Now what I want to use as a base is this barbecue sauce that we made a couple of episodes ago. What this does is it's a nice base, so you get that barbecue flavor, as well as it's a bit sticky. So it's going to be able to help the sauce and the flavor adhere to the meat itself. So you're just going to use about a spoon or so full of the barbecue sauce because I don't want that sauce to overpower the flavor that we're gonna get out of the bourbon cherry and out of the apple cinnamon here. But we had a little bit of this barbecue sauce left over, so I figured, why not use it? Now, if you remember, this was what we made back in the bonus episode of Barbecue with Birks a couple weeks ago. We have our barbecue sauce. We're gonna start with the apple cider pork, get some cinnamon. Now, I like a lot of cinnamon flavor. You don't wanna go crazy because it'll overpower everything, but a couple of taps in there and you're good to go. Next, your cider. You wanna mix this in, say probably around a half can. You don't wanna make your barbecue sauce too watery or it won't stick. All right, cherry jam, probably about 1 heaping scoopful. Now because it's so sticky, it's gonna help as well. You don't have to use as much barbecue sauce to adhere, but I still like that flavor. And next, some bourbon. A couple of ounces here, not as much as apple cider. All right guys, so for the first 3 hours, you wanna get a nice smoke on these guys. Cook them at a low temperature. You're gonna do around 180 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit and an offset smoke. You don't want the fire right underneath it. So what I've done is I've set the fire on one side of the grill and I've got my 2 racks set on the other side. So I'm gonna put these guys on. We're gonna close it up, let it sit for 3 hours or about 3 hours, braise for about 2 hours between 225 and 250, and then you're gonna sauce them for the last hour consistently. All right guys, you know the drill. Be quick, be fast, don't let all that smoke out. Get going. All right guys, now that we hit about the 3 hour mark, I've gotten all that nice smoke penetrated into the meat. We haven't started cooking it too hot yet. This is mostly just to get a lot of that smoke ring and that flavor on it without drying anything out. So what we're gonna do is now we're gonna pull these off, put them on some tinfoil and add some liquid to it. The reason why we're gonna do this is it's almost braising the ribs for the next 2 hours. Temperature will then crank up to 225 to 250 and we'll let these guys go. So we're gonna swap them over here. And you want to make sure that the bones are up. This way you're not actually puncturing that tinfoil when you wrap it nice and tight. Otherwise you'll allow leakage and then you're not going to get a nice seal and a nice braise going on. All right, now that we got these guys all wrapped in tinfoil, we're gonna add some more charcoal on. We're gonna get that heat up to 225, 250. All right guys, we've hit the 2 hour mark here. We are smoking up real good. We're gonna take the ribs off and out of the tinfoil. We're gonna pull the bones out of one of them and then we're gonna start saucing this for the next hour. You wanna keep the temperature consistent for the next hour while you're saucing it, but probably baste it every maybe 20 minutes, I would say, to make sure you get a real good coat on that. You don't want it to burn, but what we're looking for is we're looking for a nice coat, nice moisture, and that crispiness on the ribs on the outside with that smoke ring, as well as the meat should shrink up a little bit and you should have between a 1/4 inch and maybe a 1/2 inch, might be a bit much, but a little bit of space between the bone and the meat. It shrinks up on that bone and that's how you know you're cooking along real good. All right, let's pull these guys off. Let's pull the bones out, take them out of the tinfoil, and we'll sauce them up. All right guys, we're gonna do our final test here. We basted it the whole time. It's been our 6 hours. We've done our 3, 2, and 1 time test on it. It's been a lovely day outside. Had a great time. Getting ready to get diggity down on these ribs. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna double check the temperature, make sure it's all good, pull these off, and have ourselves a delicious barbecue dinner. Beautiful, look at these guys here. This is real, fall off the bone, super tender. These look great, smell great. We're at our temperature, 145. I cannot wait to get into these. All right, again, thanks guys. Episode 8 here with Barbecue with Birk. We've done ourselves some beautiful local pork back ribs with some local cider, Scow cider. Thank you guys very much. As well as a Bulleit bourbon cherry rib as well. So cannot wait to get into this. I'll give you guys a review later on in the week, and hopefully you guys can cook some of your own. Happy National Barbecue Week. All right, see you guys next week.